Hey everyone, it's the Outlaw John Rocha here on the Outlaw Nation channel with another film review for you. This one is for Emma, period. The new film that is out now from first-time director Autumn de Wilde. She is a photographer who's known for her rock albums and photography of rock stars. She takes on the mantle of director for this latest adaptation of Emma from, of course, the novelist Jane Austen, a much beloved novel. Most of you have probably read it in high school or college, or maybe in a book club, or maybe amongst your own pseudo book club with your friends. And we've seen a number of interpretations over the years, especially if you're a big Anglophile. We've seen BBC interpretations of this, and of course, there was one that came out in 1996 that starred Gwyneth Paltrow and a number of other people in that one, and it was received very well at the time as an independent film in the 90s. Greta Scacchi's in that one. Alan Cumming is in that one. Jeremy Northam plays Mr. Knightley in that one. Toni Collette's in that one. So a number of people involved in that particular one back in 1996. But the one we're talking about on this video is the one that is out now for you to go and watch and enjoy in the theaters. Emma with a period. This one stars Anya Taylor-Joy, Johnny Flynn, Callum Turner, Bill Nighy, and a host of other actors that we'll get to in a little bit. But basically, the plot, if you've never read the book, is basically a young woman named Emma who is part of an upper society type of existence. She prides herself on being a matchmaker with people in the town. And what we discover throughout the film is her matches actually don't work as well as people think or as people have given her credit for. And as she discovers this throughout the film, she has to confront the fact that she maybe doesn't know everything there is to know about love and doesn't know everything there is to know about being a matchmaker. And then what is she going to do once she confronts that information? And of course, Johnny Flynn plays a big part in that as George Knightley. Now, George Knightley ends up calling her out for these matches, kind of trying to undo some of the matches throughout the film. And this causes sparks between them, initially adversarial, and then eventually something else, and I'm not going to spoil too much about it, but it's a fantastic relationship between these two incredible actors going at each other. Anya Taylor-Joy, really, what a wonder. I mean, you don't want to cop out and say the word joy, but she is a joy. She's a joy to discover and enjoy again in this film. You know, I remember she was in Peaky Blinders last year in that season. Of course, she was in Split. Of course, in Glass. There's so much about her. I don't know how I can say this correctly, but there's something about her eyes and the tenderness of her approach to roles that makes her very charming, magnetic. You want to go on this journey of discovery with her, and you cheer for her kind of quietly, figuring it out so that she can come out the other side. And when she does figure it out, it does cause a physical reaction from her, which I found to be a stunning decision by the director to include in the movie. Johnny Flynn, as I said, playing George Knightley. Johnny is incredible in the movie. Fantastic. He's this rebellious, kind of do his own thing man, but he isn't overbearing about it. He isn't overt about it. He isn't like trying to make other people do his bidding. He's more thinking that the world should work in a certain way, and he feels he has the right to give his opinion about it. And here's where this is fascinating about the movie. Autumn de Wilde does such an excellent job in this film, making it feel topical while also keeping it very authentically real in the world that it's set. And that's, of course, it's due to the costumes and the settings and the houses and the look of the entire film, but also the topics that they discuss. They kind of subtly reference this idea of mansplaining on George Knightley's part. They subtly reference this idea of, does a woman need a man in order to be considered whole in society? All these little things that are determined or spoken about throughout the movie, they're kind of lightly touched on or addressed, just enough for you to get it, and then they move on to the general story. And the general story is filled with so many incredible actors and enjoyable performances here. Let's start with Bill Nighy, obviously, as Mr. Woodhouse. Such great comedic timing throughout the film, and that's another compliment to Autumn de Wilde's movie. Rather, she does a great job of finding the humor in the little moments of interaction, the moments that the humor that could feel slightly anachronistic totally works in the movie. And I love that. I love it. It made me feel like I was existing in both worlds, both the current world, the modern world, and the world back then. And it put some smiles on my face throughout the movie watching experience because of that. Also, you've got Mia Goth as Harriet Smith, who is the kind of, how can I say this? She's slightly lower class than Emma, but she's being helped along by Emma, and she's being matched up with the local priest, and that's played by Josh O'Connor. He plays Mr. Elton. Josh O'Connor, of course, who we last saw, at least I last saw, as Prince Charles in the most recent season of The Crown. Really did an incredible job in that show, and does a good job here as well. You've got Callum Turner, as I mentioned, as Frank Churchill. He is just a magnetically gorgeous man. What can you say? Comes in there like a powerhouse in every scene that he is in, just with his energy. He isn't overt about it, just his energy there overall. Rupert Graves, who many of you know from the Sherlock series, he's in this as Mr. Weston. Gemma Whelan as Mrs. Weston. Gemma Whelan, who I've been discovering in numerous BBC shows from her past, but also, of course, she's Yara on Game of Thrones. So nice to see kind of a subtle, soft touch to her performance in this film that I think really, really works. Amber Anderson is fantastic as Jane Fairfax as well. Really quiet, contained, restrained performance. But when she speaks, everybody listens. And of course, got to give some love to Miranda Hart. Miranda Hart is so funny. You know, I first discovered her in Spy, that Paul Feig film that stars Melissa McCarthy and Miranda Hart in there. She's the one that helps her from the CIA base and then runs out to show up and try to help her there with everything that's going on with her and Jude Law. And I thought she was just great in the movie. Very funny as the oversharing, over-talkative Miss Bates and the situations she gets involved in. And there's a moment between her and Emma that will really kind of move you when it's happening. And it begins the turn for Emma to kind of take a look at herself and figure out what changes she might need to make about herself or with herself so that she can function better in this world. And it doesn't mean that other people are right about her. It means that we all have our journey to go on. And maybe there's like some of you watching or listening now, I'm sure, have gone on through your own journeys before, your own mistakes that you've made, and come out the other side to be a better person. So just fantastic work here from Autumn de Wilde as a director. The cinematography is excellent. The score is great. You know, I mentioned Johnny Flynn. Johnny Flynn wrote a song for the film called Queen Bee, which I can say now, and of course, if you follow me on social media, you saw already, I interviewed him for about 45 minutes, 50 minutes for a new episode of The Deep Cut. We talked about him making the film. We talked about his music. He's been performing music since a very young age, and we talked about all his other career stuff coming up here. David Bowie, the Talented Mr. Ripley series they're doing on Showtime, talks about all of that with me. But one of the things he really stressed was this song he wrote for the movie, Queen Bee. He wrote the lyrics and he wrote the music to kind of be George Knightley's ode to Emma. So that's the kind of point of view he had when he wrote that song. And it certainly comes through when you hear that song. I think it plays on the end credits there of the movie. Okay, so but I'll tell you this is my score. I give it 4 cowboy hats out of 5 because it's an enjoyable experience in the theater. I think for all of you who are going out there to maybe go see this thing and give it a chance, you know, you've got all these other things going on, Sonic and Birds of Prey, but here's a small little English period piece that kind of slides in, that has a smirk on its face, has a good story to tell, is shot in beautiful ways, and also scored well and acted in fantastic ways by everybody involved in the production. Anya Taylor-Joy, we're going to hear so much from her going forward, but please keep an eye out for Johnny Flynn as well. I think this gentleman's career is just about to go to the next level with these incredible projects coming up. As I mentioned, the David Bowie film called Stardust and the Talented Mr. Ripley series that's going on with him and Andrew Scott from Sherlock fame being a part of that as well. So go see this thing. Go enjoy yourself. If you're an Anglophile, it's a great, great experience in the theater. If you're a fan of English period films, maybe you're not a full Anglophile, but you're a fan of English period films, this is one that belongs in the lexicon. And I should know something about it. We just counted down the top 10 English period films on the Top 10 podcast, which you can find on the Top 10. Go find the Top 10 on anywhere you download podcasts to listen to that episode. And overall, just puts a smile on your face walking out of the theater, makes you happy. And why shouldn't movies do that? You know, that's a good thing about them. So there you go. All right. Thanks everybody for watching this review of Emma. Always appreciate the love and the support you give me as I'm building the Outlaw Nation step by step, brick by brick, review by review. It's always great to hear from all of you. And please don't forget to download download and watch any of the content I have on here. Of course, my standard show every day, Mornings with the Outlaw. I'm doing that. That's been growing more and more. I've got live streams on there that I've recorded in the past, got other movie reviews, trailer reactions, things of that nature. The Geek Buddy stuff is on there. So much to enjoy. Deep cuts, so much to enjoy that I'm putting out, and there'll be sports stuff coming down the road here. Also, the professional wrestling show that I've got on there called Strong Style, where me and Aaron Turner revisit a classic match from the past. So much content of various genres, various interests for you to enjoy there on the Outlaw Nation YouTube channel. Thanks so much. Remember to like and share this video on your social media. Subscribe to me, not subscribe, but follow me at The Rocha Says on Twitter and on Instagram. And we'll talk to you next time with another movie review from the Outlaw Nation. Take care.